What do you reckon of this angle?
Yeah, I suppose that will have to do.
Yeah. No Chin. You think, man? Ken Early. Did I say the surname properly?
Yes.
Early. I've got you here for many reasons. I mean, you're covering the World Cup for the Irish Times. Mm-hmm. In my eyes, you're one of the greatest writers of our generation, and you've got a great podcast, the Second Captains. Are you doing some over here?
Yeah, every day, every weekday.
All right.
Weekends, you have to rest.
You were saying that the signal is good, and so you don't have to spend 3 days sending the stuff that you do. So
yeah,
it goes almost like.
Yeah, it's great. They've authoritarian democracy is good for high-speed mobile networks. It turns out, so they're getting good results on that front. Anyway.
Right, you've got an Irish man here, you've got a Spanish guy here, and we are. Look, I'll show you. At the Lusniki. Now this is filmed. Now I have to adjust this. Oh, it's fine now. This is filmed, of course, just 3 hours before the game, England-Croatia. So it doesn't matter what happens. But one of the things that kind of been thinking about during the tournament, it's my really strange reactions to England throughout the tournament. And then I read your article, and then I thought, this is it. This is what I meant. This is what my brain needed, a little bit of organization in my ideas.
Yeah. Well, how do you mean your reactions were strange? Because I think that you're an England sympathiser. I think you've been an England sympathiser because I remember speaking to you outside the stadium in Bloemfontein 8 years ago after England had lost 4-1 to Germany, and you were quite disappointed.
Right, let me tell you a couple of things then of my mixed feelings, and then we go into what you feel, because I think you also have got mixed feelings, I feel, a little bit. Anyway, we'll go into that in a minute. But in '96, when I first started writing as a journalist, I was in England in the Euros. I was after Spain-England. I was wearing a Spain shirt, and of course I was disappointed. And me, my brother, a friend of mine, John Duncan, who happens to arrive today to see the semi-finals, were followed by a bunch of English lads who wanted to kick us just because we were wearing the Spain shirt. From then on, you think, well, I want to back you, but because I'm living in England, but I can't fully because of you. Yeah, they don't make it easy. Then of course there's the media side of things, and all in all, you carry that with you. The certain headline and certain cover before the Colombia game, etc. But if you are close to the setup, to the players, to the head coach, you can only like them. You use one of the funny paragraphs in the article that they are all very likable, but it's more than that makes people like this England. You think?
Well, they're definitely not as dislikable as some of the previous England teams. There was, when John Terry was captain, when there was this kind of cult of celebrity around Beckham, who shouldn't have been in the team for the last couple of years. There was just something about them which the huge arrogance with which they carried themselves meant that obviously the funniest outcome was to see them, go down. That just isn't the case with this team. I mean, I don't see the arrogance. I don't see the entitlement. From Southgate, I don't get that vibe from him either. So it is a little bit different. I think it has to do to some extent with the fact that most of these players are not the top players in their clubs. It's not like. They used to have sort of the top players at Chelsea, at Liverpool, at Manchester United, and now it's really only Harry Kane.
Yeah.
So they haven't sort of developed into these egomaniac sort of monsters. Maybe that's still to come. Maybe because all their lives have been changed by this World Cup. Like Harry Maguire is a hero now. Maybe in a couple of years he'll have evolved into something more like an old school England player, but. For now, they just seem like a kind of more of a team than past England teams. Not having that sense of, we'll beat these. I remember they had that attitude before Portugal in 2006. Portugal got a lot of good players. Portugal really are pretty good. So I think these sorts of things are. It is, but I think the main thing, to be honest, that has brought this excitement out in England is the fact that they're in the semi-finals. I mean, winning a lot of games. There's nothing like that to make people start to like you.
Yeah.
I mean, Henderson. Look at the stuff that's being said about Henderson now in the press. I mean, Henderson is just like people have kind of forever been speaking about him as kind of a willing but limited player. Is he good enough to play for Liverpool? You know, this was kind of. These are questions, and now it's like Henderson is a man of steel. You know, what character, what indomitability. You know, it's the same. You can see the same process happening as well. When Southgate became the manager, they had chosen Sam Allardyce ahead of him one game previously, and then there was like, oh, we can't really get anyone at short notice, so here's Gareth. You know, and it wasn't as though there was excitement. You know, people were like, oh, Southgate. You know, he's the man we've been waiting for. But now it's like. He's like embodying a whole new style of leadership. So win a few games, I think, is the best way. He did say, Southgate said, I told the players succeeding with England will be bigger than anything you can imagine with your clubs. And you can see the truth of that. I mean, look at Henderson, Champions League final with Liverpool, played amazingly in the semi-final against Roma. It doesn't have remotely the effect of playing well against Sweden in a World Cup quarter-final does on your reputation, so it's the biggest thing.
Apologies if you were hearing the instructions to whatever they're giving instructions to. I mean, we actually chose this spot because it was quiet, but it may not be as quiet as I wanted it to. But in any case, you also mentioned that we sense, being here from the beginning of the tournament, that the excitement back in England, it's something that we've never seen before. Certainly not in 25 years. Not even in the Euro 96, and that is clearly, as you identify, is that England or Croatia? Anyway, it doesn't matter. You identified as the consequence of being in the era of social media, of course.
Yeah.
It is extreme.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, there's a few things that have happened. Like, I mean, the photo of Harry Maguire is like one of the funniest photos. But like, just to see how that gets taken up now by a crowd and gets made into like a million different jokes. You know,
and embraced by him as well.
Oh yeah, he was tweeting. Kyle Walker, you know, was using it. So you get this sort of sense of a collective experience. I mean, you know, the thing that England's players used to always complain about was how boring it was, which always seemed a bit. Other countries don't complain about this. You know, you need to be a bit more professional. But it's a lot easier to be away from home now than it was even when they were in Rustenburg. In 2010, you know, they were in this sort of place which was out in the middle of the high veld, and it was kind of monastic and isolated and really boring and going sort of crazy. Whereas now, I don't know if there's any difference between being where they are in Repino, whatever, compared to like if they were sitting at home. They're looking at the same screen. You're sort of inhabiting the same internet space. Yeah, it almost feels as though they're not away from home. But what's happening with the fans is hilarious. I mean, the kind of epidemic of feeling. You know, people's feelings are totally subjective. Or are so dependent on how the people around them feel. And you know, if you can sort of get that sense every time you look at your phone, you see some new crazy thing. I mean, a lot of the stuff is like there's good craziness and there's bad craziness. I mean, we've seen like a lot of terrible stuff, but you can see this sort of mass excitement, and once you see that, you feel like you're, you know, it influences you as well. I mean, people are definitely working themselves up. I mean, okay, is there anything more un-English than all of the beer that you see thrown in the air? Every goal now, it's just like, oh, all this beer, it's like fireworks going off in the crowd. That's not something English people really want to do.
There is the sense that a lot of the emotions are being exaggerated or taken to an extreme because they want to be the ones that, some of them want to be the ones that say, but I'm more fun than you. And in fact, a colleague of mine, Sky News today, was tweeting about the thing that annoys me is that part-time England fans, you know, it seems to be that you either were an England fan or you're not an England fan, and if you are, you need a permission to get there.
Yeah.
Well, when emotions should be a little bit more innocent, a little bit more naive on one hand, but also you shouldn't dictate who can be a supporter of England either. So there's all those things there. But don't you feel that a lot of it, yeah, certain, but the nucleus of it, and that's what we're doing this, no matter what happens tonight, the nucleus of it is quite genuine in that they wanted to belong somewhere that is successful and embrace it completely and genuinely.
I think it is real. I mean, it's like the thing, you know, this is kind of it's coming home craziness. I mean, that's the first time I think that was said to me in the tournament was by an English friend who WhatsApped me, it's ... coming home? Question mark. And he, you know, after like England had beaten Tunisia or Panama, you know, it was like, it was a joke. It was just, it's a joke which kind of has actually become real. I mean, there was a great line by, I think, Jonathan Liu, writing a preview for the semi-final, saying, you know, it'll never be like this again for England fans. It's like the experience of wanting something for so long and then giving up hope that it would ever happen, which I think a lot of them have done. I mean, the last couple of tournaments have just been hopeless.
Yeah.
From the outset, it's like, we haven't got a hope, we haven't got a chance. To suddenly, semi-final, final inside, could actually win this thing, it's a kind of a unique experience. Like, and the next tournament, they're kind of going to expect to win it again. We're going to be back to where we were in 2002. You know, like, we have the best players, we've got the best team, we're as strong as anyone. Whereas this time, it's like so unexpected that it kind of adds an extra element of euphoria, you know? I mean, people are doing it, people are kind of hamming it up, definitely. But just the mere act of hamming something up makes you feel it more intensely, you know? So it's kind of like I mean, if they win this match tonight, and, you know, you've got another 3 days for it all to percolate up till they actually play the final. I mean, I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to social media. I do feel this stuff. The same friend, in fact, who sent me this, he was the first to mention the phrase "it's coming home" to me in this tournament, is now at home. He lives here, but he flew home because he thought that if he was in Moscow during this,
He'll miss the
whole thing.
All right.
The place where the World Cup is happening now is in England. I mean, if you're in Moscow, if you walk around Moscow, it's gone back to normal.
In fact, that reminds me when in the 3 tournaments that we won, especially in Joburg, in the evening I celebrated with a Nigerian guy, a Croatian girl, I can't remember, and it was like, oh, we won the World Cup, and there was not that feeling that you got back home. I had to watch it in the video, so I fully understand what he's trying to say. In terms of his coming home, I didn't get it at the beginning. I got annoyed because my home back in Spain is also home to football. We play football there, and even you know what I'm trying to say. But then I realized it was a joke. And today, go back to Twitter to try to understand things. Somebody tweeted saying it's annoying the foreigners or non-English, and they love it that it's annoying to us.
They love that.
But they said you're not getting it. It was a joke. The problem is now we realize that we could actually win it, and we don't know what to do. So is that kind of since the joke gone?
It's crazy. I mean, with any joke, there's always people who don't get the joke or who misinterpret the joke. Any mass thing like that, you know, it always starts to break up. It's like you were saying about some people saying, "Oh, these aren't real England fans." You know, it's like a band is popular and people say that they like the early stuff. You know, any kind of mass movement like that people want to set themselves above it or be in the elite of it, like, you know, so obviously that's going to happen to England fans as well. And obviously there's going to be a whole lot of stuff wrecked and ruined. And today in Moscow, some England fans for the first time have actually turned up in quite large numbers. And up in Red Square, there's like the inflatable Spitfires and 10 German bombers, which there was none of previously in this tournament. Like there wasn't sort of that concentration. So I don't know.
Do you feel kind of that if this had happened to another group of players, to another manager, let's say to Sam Allardyce, I personally would have struggled to back England because I felt in the past, no, you're not ready to win, and this, you know, I'm only a fan and I'm only Spanish. It's like, you're not ready to win because if you win, you're going to say, do you know this process you're talking about? Forget about that. We can win. We're now the best, and now you hear it's this message that Gareth Southgate is sending, of which some of it is the process. We have not got there. And that's healthy.
Well, I think that's another really interesting thing about what's happening with England here, because, okay, they haven't won the World Cup yet, but if they were to win the World Cup, what would that say? You know, I mean, so the last few World Cups have all been won by countries. If you leave out maybe Brazil in 2002, because Brazil are Brazil, like they had Ronaldo, Valderrama, they're the best players, they won the World Cup. Okay, it was just Brazil once again turned up with the best players that won the World Cup. But if you look back to France '98, Italy 2006, and especially Spain in 2010 and Germany in 2014, you can see this story, this very clear story, at the end of which winning the World Cup makes sense. So with Germany, it sort of starts when they got humiliated in Euro 2000 and decided, okay, this has to change, restructured everything, sort of everybody sat down, made a big plan, all the clubs had to go along with the plan, a new generation of players was raised up, playing a new way at international level, and at the end of it, having gone to the final, semi-final, semi-final, they win the World Cup, and it's like the culmination of this process, which was planned and made sense. Like if they make a new car, it finally rolls off. I mean,
that happened to Germany, Spain, France.
All the coaches in Spain, the accent on the technical passing game, playing the game in a way that people thought it couldn't really be done at international levels, had to have big, strong guys and so on. What does the England success say? It's like,
okay, let me suggest what it says.
Yeah.
Based on conversations with players, but especially with Gareth Southgate. One, it's a cup competition. It's a glorified, the best, most important cup competition, which means that, in a way, anybody can win it. But two, they're doing it the right way. And it's part of a change in the way they think about it, in the way they've been influenced by foreign coaches, in the way how the FA is changing things. Because this England DNA has affected the young sides, but hasn't affected these guys.
No.
These guys are affected by 2-3 years of coaching under Southgate, certainly, but Pochettino, Guardiola, Ranieri, Klopp, all these guys. So would that be about right?
It's the most persuasive explanation I can think of. In that this is a kind of success which happened really thanks to the Premier League's refusal to help the national team in a way. Like the fact that the Premier League is the most internationalised league, pays them the biggest wages, has brought in, it's something that Southgate says, we only pick from 33% of the league. It's a unique situation, but it's a good situation. I think it's a good situation because 33% of the Premier League is still a lot of players.
And you have to be very good to be that 33%.
You have to, and when you're learning from the top coaches, all the managers in the Premier League are the top guys. The top managers in the world go there now because they get paid so much more than anywhere else. How can you play for Pochettino or Guardiola or Klopp, with Hazard and all of these great players in the league, and not have some of that rub off on you, and so it's like the FA has gone, well, we'll copy the Dutch model, we'll copy the French model, we'll copy the Spanish model, we'll copy the German model, the English model, which is a non-national model, like an international best league in the world model, I suppose. Whether it's the best league in the world is a different debate, but I do think the average quality is very high. Kind of, is it the invisible hand? Do you credit the invisible hand of capitalism with finally creating the factors that, okay, I mean, the youth structures in England don't make any sense. They're herding players into academies where they get paid a lot of money and don't get into the first team. It doesn't really seem to make sense. But for the few who do make it, people like Kane and Ali and so on, they're playing at a higher level, they're absorbing influences that they didn't. So the whole institute culture of English football doesn't really constrain them anymore. They're not part of it.
Yeah. Just to finish off, you mentioned one thing that is important and that has happened, which is you cannot debate anything. In this tournament, I think you started to debate one or two things. I started to debate one of the things I remember saying after during the Panama game. I put a tweet out there saying the front four, it's not working very well. And then Lingard scored, and then I got Stan Collymore and Gary Neville laughing at me and thinking, we cannot debate. So you feel it's been a bit like that swapped by the whole wave of.
I think it's fairly normal for people to see things one way, in the World Cup. I mean, you hear the Belgian players talking about France playing anti-football. Really, I mean, it was a bit. We've just been knocked out of the World Cup and we're not too happy about it. I mean, these players have sort of become overnight heroes. Try telling someone now that Jordan Henderson is too predictable in his passing. People don't want to hear that right now. That's not what it's about. John Stones. Well, Guardiola lost faith in John Stones. There's something wrong there. No. John Stones is, is our best footballing defender since Rio Ferdinand or maybe Bobby Moore. So that's the way it is in the World Cup. I can totally understand people being defensive about the team. I mean, maybe when if the train does come off the tracks, the Kane train, maybe then there'll be room for a bit of a post-mortem. But for now, I mean, there is the fact that a few stranger things have happened, like the Sterling has been the obvious case where something else is going on. This is an example of something that couldn't have happened before. So some of the papers had persistently done negative stories about Sterling, and previously they would have done that, and there wouldn't really have been any answer back to that. But now they put it out, and people are like, oh, hang on, here's another story. Well, what about this story, you know, screen grabs of all these stories. It's like, well, we've got a pattern here of persecution of a player. And suddenly you've got loads of people on social media hammering back at these papers, which I think is probably a good thing. I mean, you can't, you know, it takes away some of that unaccountable power. It also makes journalists, I think, maybe, you get people saying, you're trying to undermine the English team. You know, you've always been against the English team. And actually most of the English journalists are like supporting England all the way, you know. I think they've sort of always been like that. But I've seen a few of them sort of...
How are they feeling now, you think?
A few of them just, you sort of almost have to show that you also, like, there's been a few like videos of the newsroom. Look how excited everyone is in our newsroom. Or, oh, I fell to the ground and beat the ground and said yes. So the journalists kind of feel the need now to show that they're on board as well. And maybe that's been reflected in some of the coverage as well, which is really, but I mean, like, it's a moment of hype. It's a moment where everyone wants to feel positive. No one is interested in saying, well, you know, we haven't scored from open play that much, and, you know, what right do we have to? No one wants to hear that. It's not the time for that.
I think, though, a lot of what we're saying is relevant, no matter what happens tonight. I insist, because he has brought a sense of a communion again with the national side, a sense that they are going the right way no matter what happens today. That's the way they have to continue, and it's so non-English in a way. So again, we have to redefine what English is, but not just us, but everybody else, the English as well.
Yeah.
But
world champions under 17, under 20. I mean, the English are coming back.
Yeah.
So again, I just think it's essentially this is the big unexpected moment. But for the next 10 years, they'll be back expecting to win. It's like England mania is back. That's what we've seen here.
Let me finish with the brilliant line that you found in that article where you were saying that the best compliment you can give to England is to still hate them.
Yeah. But because, you know, if we are all applauding them and saying, well done, you know, great stuff, then who have they beaten really? Maybe themselves, thrown off their old history now, you know. I mean, I think it's important to be able to rub people's noses in it as well. I mean, that's half the satisfaction of winning. And I do think that the English are maybe one of those countries, maybe less than a lot of other countries, they really actually don't care that much what foreigners think of them. Otherwise, you wouldn't see huge groups of English fans gathering and behaving in obnoxious ways in foreign cities, like, you know, like in Marseille, you know, it was fuck off Europe. Fuck off Europe was a chant, you know. I mean, who else would do that? Like, they don't care. They do not care what foreigners think.
We enter in a complex subject right there, I think.
Yeah, but you know, just so that you know, in Ireland and in Scotland and Germany, France, Argentina, and, you know, maybe Spain and all of these rival countries, that, you know, England winning will break our hearts, and that will be, I suppose, just have a little bit of sweetness to it from the English point of view.
So, should we go and watch a game?
Yeah. All right. I'll go and find out how many goals England are going to win by tonight against Croatia.
Ken Early, second captains. Check it out and subscribe and everything else. Adios.